The following is a CBS 6 special presentation.
Company, attention! Present! Armed! Order! Arms! Who are we?
Jackie! Thank you for your service!
Give a voice!
Hoorah!
For those who have served in the United States Armed Forces, today, we say thank you. Live from the Virginia War Memorial, this is the Commonwealth's Veterans Day ceremony.
Well, good morning. And welcome to the Commonwealth of Virginia's Veterans Day Celebration of Service. I'm Clay Mountcastle, the director of the Virginia War Memorial, and on behalf of the staff and all of us here, I'd like to welcome those joining us both in person and watching at home. We have a great program on this rainy Veterans Day and a tremendous group up here with me on the platform. It is always a real pleasure to host our Governor, Glenn Youngkin, and the First Lady of Virginia, Mrs. Suzanne Youngkin. Thank you all for being here. Very fortunate to have them here on what is the end of a very busy week. I'm also joined by the Commonwealth Secretary for Veterans and Defense Affairs, Secretary Craig Crenshaw. Sir, thank you very much. Happy Marine Corps birthday, a day late. So the Commanding General of the U.S. Army's Training and Doctrine Command, General Gary Brito. Sir, thank you for being with us today. And the Adjutant General of Virginia, Major General Timothy Williams. Sir, always a pleasure having you here. Thank you. And we'll also, in a minute, see Staff Sergeant Austin Sturts, who is the Virginia Guard's Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Sergeant Sturts, thank you for being here. I want to thank the members of the Virginia Legislature that have joined us today, your elected officials. But really, there's one particular group that's our special honored guest today, and that's our veterans. I get very excited thinking about those in attendance and watching. We've got Virginia soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, coasties, maybe even some space guardians out there somewhere. We have Blue Star family members, friends of veterans, and we have people with us and watching today that are simply proud of who and what this day represents. Because what really brings us all together this morning is a love of this country. Pride in what we as Americans stand for, and pride in those Americans among us that have loved this country so much that they have served it and defended it and continue to do so. Our veterans, past and present, represent the best of this country. They are exceptional Americans, and in turn, they make America exceptional. One need only look to the beaches of Normandy, the ruins of the Berlin Wall, or to Arlington National Cemetery for evidence of American exceptionalism. So thank you all again for joining us, and let's continue with our celebration of service. Staff Sergeant Sturts will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able to do so. There's a flag at the back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthem to be performed by the 29th Division Band. Thank you. Please be seated. Well, today is a celebration. You know, here at the Virginia War Memorial, there's two big days on our calendar, obviously, Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and they're not the same thing. And today we like to celebrate the idea of service to the country. And because we're celebrating, there's perhaps no better person to share comments with us than the person who commands an organization that's history begins well before the founding of our nation. Major General Timothy Williams is the Adjutant General of Virginia, the nation's best state Adjutant General. And a true friend and supporter of the Virginia War Memorial. So once again, please welcome General Timothy Williams. Thank you, sir. Get this out of your way.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. And it is great to see you, Mr. Governor. Thank you so much for being here. The First Lady, certainly my boss, Secretary Crenshaw, my great friend, General Brito from TRADOC. It's good to be here. And certainly ever present here at the War Memorial is Clay Mountcastle. And to our elected officials, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to be here with us today. And, you know, as I looked out across the crowd today that are here, I see an awful lot of friendly faces, some fellow Hokies and classmates that are here, so thank you for what you do to be here. Go Hokies. Jeez. I think we're going to have to start this all over again. So thanks again, though, for spending time with us today. I also have to recognize absolutely the 29th Infantry Division Band. Thank you so much. You're in high demand for the day. So you've got 5 other events, if I'm not mistaken, 5 other events today and 5 events tomorrow. So everybody is stretched across the entire state. So thanks for what you do. Our Defense Force personnel who are providing traffic support to the War Memorial, they deserve a great big thanks as well. And certainly Sergeant Sturts for leading us in the pledge. So my wife and I, Cheryl and I, often reflect on the role that we play as the Adjutant General of Virginia. There is no doubt that I have one of the greatest jobs in the Commonwealth, serving my state and nation, and I'd certainly have to thank my boss, my boss's boss, for allowing me the opportunity to continue to serve. The last 4 weeks have highlighted the importance of why we're here today and what it means to be a veteran and the important role your Virginia National Guard plays in the defense of our nation and state overseas and here at home. We recently welcomed home 1,000 soldiers who returned from federal active duty as a security force in the Horn of Africa. And just a few days later, our aviation battalion and our infantry brigade headquarters closed out their respective missions with NATO and Kosovo. Finally, after Thanksgiving, the soldiers providing air defense in Iraq will return to Virginia. All of these troops are part of more than 2,000 Virginia Guard soldiers and airmen who have served on federal active duty overseas in the last 18 months. These soldiers and airmen left their loved ones, their communities, their jobs to answer the call, and like their counterparts across the services, they missed key events like births, anniversaries, deaths, celebrations of all stripe, so much of what we take for granted. And we owe a tremendous thanks to their loved ones as well as their employers for the continued patriotic support which is so critical to our mission. That said, we still have troops deployed, and I ask that you keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Recently, I had the opportunity to attend the 29th Infantry Division Association's annual conference in the District of Columbia, where I had a rare chance to share time and drink a beer with 2 National Guard soldiers of the 29th Infantry Division, who were part of the Normandy landings on 6 June 44. Both D-Day landers were 102 years young, and I started to really question myself when they started comparing scores on the golf course from that morning. Pretty remarkable. From the young troopers who recently deployed overseas to these World War II greats, the legacy of service and sacrifice continues. And did I mention that I have the greatest job in this state? So, and remember though, that the Virginia Guard is a unique dual status force with both a federal and state mission. using the training and equipment from our combat missions to aid our response efforts for natural and man-made disasters. You name the emergency, and most likely you're going to see our soldiers, airmen, Defense Force personnel, as well as our federal and state civilians there, leveraging our experience, our relationships that build across the local, state, federal organizations, and our international partners so that we live up to the National Guard motto of always ready and always there. So it's important to remember your National Guard, soldiers and airmen, are your neighbors, living in communities across our Commonwealth. They stand ready to help their fellow Virginians in times of need. When they are not in uniform, they are teachers, coaches, first responders, employees, and employers. In each situation, there are leaders and role models serving with the same sense of duty and honor as their military services. As the Combat Reserve of the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force and part of Virginia's multi-agency response capabilities, our team of soldiers, airmen, members of the Virginia Defense Force, and our state and federal civilians are proud to join fellow soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors, and guardians to keep our Commonwealth and country safe. On Veterans Day, we recognize their service as well as those who came before us, and we salute you today. And with a heartfelt thank you and a great appreciation for all of our veterans, God bless you and God bless these United States. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And sir, if you have the best job in Virginia, I'll call second best job in Virginia then. That's all right. Well, the U.S. Army's Training and Doctrine Command trains and educates all of our American soldiers. Its commanding general, General Gary Brito, has served in the U.S. Army for 35 years. An infantryman that has commanded soldiers at every possible level, his thoughts on service are more than appropriate for today's event. Please welcome Commanding General of the U.S. Army TRADOC, General Brito. Thank you, sir.
And good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, General Williams, if you have the best job in Virginia, I have the best job in the Army today, so it's awesome. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. And on behalf of the Department of the Army and the United States Army, it is an absolute honor to spend some time with you today. First of all, I would like to thank the Governor, Governor Youngkin. Sir, thank you so much. First Lady as well. Mr. Mountcastle, Secretary, and all of those that participate and are part of the Virginia War Memorial Foundation. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the invitation to be here with you today. I would offer that without your dedication, your drive, and your passion, and care for those that are serving, have served, and will pay it forward, will serve, this inspiring memorial would not be here honoring our veterans. Another shout out for our cool band people back there, soldiers, awesome. I spoke to you earlier. Keep performing well. And the same for all the other soldiers that I had a great opportunity to shake a hand with today. Since the founding of our nation, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardmen, and our newest service, the Guardians, have fought and died in the defense of the nation and its ideals, our ideals. The nearly 12,000 Virginians whose names are inscribed on these walls of the memorial outside represent the sacrifice made by all of our veterans who decided to serve from all corners of the nation, and of course this great state as well. They, like so many, answered the call to service, went to war on behalf of the people they didn't know, in defense of freedom and democracy worldwide. But it is not just our members who serve. I think we all know that. It's not just our veterans who deserve thanks. Today we should remember their families as well. All those who kept the lights on, the curtains opened, and maintained that faith and their hope that their loved ones for their loved ones' swift return. To me, the statue outside, memory, that stands in eternal watch over the monument represents the truths and our ideals. Its somber pride shows that bittersweet nature of this monument and of this day, Veterans Day. The glory and the pride of our victories and the sorrow of our loss. That's why I would share Veterans Day is so very important. To remember the sacrifices and the services of our veterans and their families. To ensure that they are never forgotten and eternally cared for. But it is not enough to simply remember what they did for our nation. We must also reflect all that we should be. Our nation's veterans helped forge the path for our freedom and prosperity, something of which we all enjoy day in and day out. We must remember that this world can be a dangerous place, and that we still need heroes to stand up and defend our values, our way of life. An inscription here says, "To all those who enjoy freedom of the deeds and sacrifices required to them to flourish." We need to remember this truth, not just on Veterans Day, but every single day. Monuments and ceremonies like this one outside, and the ceremony we're enjoying today, should stand as reminders for all of us of the freedoms we enjoy and the sacrifices required to maintain them. The monument outside is about remembering, as are our presence today, as is our presence today. Remembering the valor and contributions of countless veterans, it is absolutely right for our nation to honor every person who makes that choice to serve, regardless of the branch or component that they serve in. So I'll end here, and I'd like to thank again the dedicated men and women of the Virginia War Memorial Foundation and all of those that serve in every service, and their families as well, and ask that we always maintain their memories to ensure that we remain deserving of their sacrifices and the freedom we enjoy. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you today. Thank you so much. God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you, sir. I'm retired Army. You might notice we're a little Army heavy up on the stage. That's okay. Might be by design, but that's okay. But that's all right. We're about to bring a Marine up here, so get a little balance out. Today is truly a big, important day here at the memorial. Obviously, honoring veterans is a primary piece of our mission. For some here in the Commonwealth, however, every day truly is Veterans Day. The Virginia Department of Veteran Services and our Secretariat of Veterans and Defense Affairs work daily to improve the lives of Virginia's veterans and keep them living and thriving here in the Commonwealth. Overseeing this all-important effort is Virginia's Secretary of Veterans and Defense Affairs, the Honorable Craig Crenshaw, who has been kind enough to join us today to share his thoughts and to introduce our keynote speaker. Secretary Crenshaw.
Good morning. Good morning. And to our Marines who's out there, happy birthday. All right, there you go. I knew he was out there. Governor, First Lady, General Brito, General Williams, the man Clay, thank you for allowing me to be part of today's ceremony. You know, this is a very special day. And, you know, as I look out at the audience, and I see the veterans who are here, and I see your faces about this day as we have provided comments on what Veterans Day means to us and how it may somehow move you in a certain way. You know, we all have our own stories on why we served, why we decide to wear the great cloth of our nation. And today we sit here pausing and reflecting and to give thanks for all veterans and their family as well. We all decided to wear it. We all decided to say, I wanted to be a Marine, a soldier, a sailor, an airman. But something moved us to become part of that great force. And when you became that special person, that special individual, you became someone different. your mission in life, the way you view things were different. You had a commitment to serve. You decided that there was going to be some inherent danger in that decision, obviously, but you decided you want to serve our nation and support and defend our Constitution. And you did it without question. And we're celebrating that decision today. We should celebrate that decision every day. Because as a veteran, while you served, you made a difference. Today, our veterans still are making differences. They're serving in all aspects of our communities. I mean, you can't go anywhere without running into a veteran here in Virginia. I think about every 12 people or so, if you ask if they were a veteran, they would say yes. Virginia is deep within the veteran network. Virginia understands what veterans mean and what their value is to a thriving community. And so today, we just taking pause to say thank you. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for those lonely nights that you had to be away and your family was there without you. Thank you for that group of family members who came together when your spouses or service member was deployed. A lot of things occur within this veteran space that some people don't have appreciation of. Because they didn't have the opportunity to wear the cloth. But you wore the cloth. You know what it feels like. You understand those moments when we're in need and just need someone to reach out to. And just have a conversation about experiences. And that moves you. That moves you. And so this whole veteran experience creates a better community. What you have done, the legacy that you've left, will be everlasting. As I see some of our older veterans today and some of our younger veterans today, recognizing there's a large transition between those two eras. And how do we ensure that that legacy is passed through or passed along? The way that occurs is through events like this, where we have opportunity to sit down and have conversations and share experiences. So I'm very proud, very excited to serve in the role that I serve today as the Secretary of Veteran and Defense Affairs. As one of my charge, we and I need to ensure that our veterans are getting the best available help they can get, all the benefits they can receive. When I say benefits, I'm talking about whatever is necessary to start your new career, to transition into the next stage of life. Now, what guides me in that direction is our governor. Our governor is the perfect person who recognizes the value of veterans, recognizes the sacrifices of veterans' families. And so I've been charged to ensure that we do bring the visibility, shine the light on our veterans. There's not enough we can do for them. They sacrificed many years in serving our country. We owe it to them. And we have a governor who recognizes that and have asked and have led the charge, ensuring that our focus, that when we wake up every day within our secretariat, that our focus is making a difference in our veteran communities. And so without any further ado, it is my pleasure, my honor, to bring forth the 74th Governor of the Commonwealth, Governor Glenn Youngkin.
Well, good morning. And General Crenshaw, Secretary Crenshaw, or Secretary General, as I like to call him, thank you. That was just an incredible view of your heart. And so thank you for sharing that with us. And I hope everybody here understands why it was such an honor when he accepted the invitation to serve in our administration. We have extraordinary leadership. I also want to thank all of our veterans who are here today. And there's lots of places that you could be. You chose to be here. You, in fact, vote with your heart, and you vote with your feet. You vote to serve our country, and today you honor us with your presence. And so thank you. General Brito, thank you again for being here. General Williams, thank you for being here. And I do think that this war memorial speaks to so many people. And as much as I want to highlight one person's contributions, it is an extraordinary team that brings together an opportunity for us to imagine standing between those great walls upstairs and seeing the names of thousands and thousands and thousands of Virginians who have paid the ultimate price, who've been willing to serve on behalf of country. It's an extraordinary moment for us to remember. And so this facility speaks loudly every time I'm here. I'd also like to acknowledge again all of our elected officials. Thank you so much for being here, both at the state level and the federal level, local officials who have all joined us. This is a moment, and we have many of them, where we put down party and we pick up country. And I think we need to do that more frequently. And so thank you all for being here. On this Veterans Day, I am deeply proud to be standing here. I look at our own family history, and the First Lady and I were remembering last night the impact that our respective grandfathers had on us. They were from the greatest generation. Her father, who served in Vietnam, our nephew, who is aspiring to be a naval pilot through our OTC. And the big takeaway there is that this is not a break in commitment in our nation. It is a generational handoff to see grandfathers give to grandsons and nephews stand up for their uncles and their aunt. It's an extraordinary statement, and it speaks to the heart of so many, again, that choose to serve. You know, Virginia is a special place. I'm unabashedly proud to be a homegrown Virginian. We, in fact, are the birth and resting place of the great George Washington, who rightly taught us that those who wish for peace must prepare for war. Virginia, the state in which our country's worst episode of civil war concluded with victory over slavery and division. Virginia, who has since that time contributed mightily to the essential preparation and readiness needed to maintain the hope of freedom and of peace. We are known to be the home of the greatest Navy base in the world in Naval Station Norfolk, the essential Air Force Base at Langley, the always ready Coast Guard in Portsmouth, the always faithful Marine Corps in Quantico, and the Army bases of Fort Lee, Belvoir, Eustis, Monroe, Meyer, A.P. Hill, and Pickett, who live and die by the timeless creed, "This will defend." This is Virginia. This is her history, this is her present, and this is her future. And intertwined in all of that is an unshakable commitment to God and to country. And we see it every day by the brave men and women who wear the cloth today, who so proudly remind us that they did. When the country called to defend her freedoms, our veterans answered. When the call was made to venture forward into unknown territories to safeguard our independence and protect our rights, our veterans answered. And if that call is made to champion those missions once again, we may all rest assured knowing that the courageous men and women in the uniform of freedom will dutifully answer that call. The Commonwealth and the nation have one sentiment to express to all of you today. Thank you. Thank you for always answering the call to sacrifice, to protect, and to serve. Now, we are joined today, as you've already heard, from General Williams from the Virginia National Guard. The motto of the National Guard of always ready and always there rings especially true in Virginia with the unprecedented number of deployments at home and abroad over the last 2 years. One of the things that General Williams will always do is call out the amazing commitment from our Virginia National Guard. What he doesn't do, because he is a man of honor, is express the concerns that we have at how busy they are and the toll that that takes on these individuals and their families. In 2022 alone, more than 2,000 personnel provided mission command for the many, many deployments he described. The security force in the Horn of Africa, peace support operations in Kosovo, the support for short-term notice air superiority in places that not everyone wants to go. They've demonstrated fearless U.S. support in the United Arab Emirates after a series of brutal attacks in the region. And we're beginning to welcome these heroes home. And I hope all of us have an opportunity to express once again a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for their service. On this day, we honor the men and women in uniform who have sacrificed so much. Their families, their children, their parents. Many of those men and women in uniform sacrificed their lives. And so that we may enjoy the fruits to live freely in peace and freedom. On this day, we remember the cease of the Great War in 1918, celebrating and thanking veterans from generations and wars past. We remember the life and legacy of Garrett Easley, a proud Virginian with a 27-year Army career who served in Korea and Vietnam. We remember the lives of the Maybrook men, 6 Giles County brothers who fought in World War II and the Korean War. And on this day, we welcome a new generation of veterans to our communities, thanking them graciously for their selfless commitment to defend and protect. This is the 66th year that Veterans Day has been celebrated at the Virginia War Memorial, reaffirming the Commonwealth's commitment to pay the stories of our service men and women forward to future generations. Here we honor Virginians' fallen heroes with deep reverence, those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom and in the defense of liberty. And to our gold-starred families who are in attendance and observing, we are forever indebted to you. We are home here in Virginia to roughly 700,000 veterans. And as the Secretary said, it is such a privilege to meet them in every walk of life. We are so blessed to have such a strong military community in Virginia. Taking care of our veterans and their families is a sacred responsibility that we must always honor. We are committed to making Virginia the #1 veteran and military-friendly state in America. It is an unabashed goal that we will achieve, and we go to work every day in the pursuit of it. This year, we worked with our General Assembly on a bipartisan basis to make sure that we could exempt up to $40,000 of our military veterans' retirement. This is long overdue. It's a long overdue recognition for the career of valor and service to our nation. And our Virginia Department of Veterans Services, led by Commissioner Dan Gade, has implemented and supported a host of programs to meet the needs of all Virginia veterans as well. A great example is the Virginia Veteran and Family Support Program. It's used to monitor and coordinate behavioral health, rehabilitative, and support services. We have a tremendous crisis when it comes to behavioral health in the Commonwealth, and our veteran community suffers mightily. In the past year alone, more than 10,000 veterans and their family members have received screening for suicide risk and connection to resources for support. We acknowledge and we remember your sacrifice every day, and we're committed to supporting you. Perhaps one of the most important preventative measures we have at our disposal is ensuring that every veteran has access to a reliable and affordable health care, a cause championed by the Veteran Services team, and, oh, by the way, one that we have made great progress with. Since July 1st of this year, our benefits team has connected with over 75,000 veterans and family members in the Commonwealth, filing over 7,000 claim submissions on behalf of Virginia's veterans. All those who have served in uniform deserve our Commonwealth's and our nation's greatest thanks, especially our community of disabled vets who sacrificed so much, and now they live with those sacrifices every day. To this, our Department of Veteran Services and other organizations have worked hard to provide Virginia veterans over $4.6 billion in federal disability compensation benefits this past year alone. There's so much more to do. We know this. But boy, are we working together in pursuit of a noble cause. Additional funding to connect veterans to critical and life-giving services via new technology was allocated to the Department of Veteran Services, and we are partnering with the General Assembly and all comers in order to launch early in the year a new hub that will provide our veterans one-stop access to find the services that they deserve. I'm very pleased with the progress, and I can't wait for us to have a ribbon cutting on that most important resource. There's no greater act of love than to lay down your life for a fellow countryman. And the Virginia Department of Veteran Services operates 3 state veteran cemeteries in Amelia, Dublin, and Suffolk to honor those fallen heroes. Earlier this year, Congress passed the Burial Equity for Guards and Reserves Act to allow all honorably discharged guardsmen and reservists to be interred in state veterans cemeteries. And I'm so proud that Virginia was the first state in the nation to provide this well-deserved final resting place for a former reserve member. We must always honor the lives they gave to keep us free. Now, upon the departure from active duty service, we must also ensure that our veterans have meaningful employment as well. Veterans not only bring a unique set of knowledge and skills, abilities to the workforce to be on time. It's one of the general's big things. But they also carry a sense of duty and devotion with them wherever they go. We are grateful to have in the Commonwealth such an extraordinary anchor to our workforce. Over 3,000 businesses today and agencies have partnered together with Virginia Values Veterans. And through the V3 program, 100,000 veterans have found great jobs in the Commonwealth. We want the number of V3 companies to grow, and we want the number of available jobs to grow, and we want the number of veterans working in Virginia to grow. As the General said, there is no better anchor to our communities, no better group of men and women that we want our children to emulate than our veterans. We want them here. General Brito, I want to thank you for your great commitment. You and your team train tens of thousands of soldiers each year, imparting key skills that will serve them both while they are wearing a uniform and when they leave the service. But just as we cannot expect members of our military to carry out their missions without resources and training, we cannot expect to meet their potential at home without resources and training. And to build a bridge from deployment to employment, we have expanded the V3 transition program to connect transitioning service members and veterans with resources and opportunities for employment, training, and education here in Virginia. The Commonwealth stands ready to serve you because you served us. And the citizens of this great Commonwealth and beyond want to comprehensively say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for loving our country. Thank you for standing for the values that we hold dear. Thank you for protecting our freedoms and ensuring that our children and our children's children can aspire to those same freedoms and liberty that have made America such an extraordinary and exceptional country. I find myself oftentimes searching for a way to close in a moment like this. And I go back to a place that I feel most comfortable, and that's to close in prayer. And so if we could all gather together for a moment. Father God, we are here today to say thank you to men and women who have served our nation, to men and women who have stood in the breach, to men and women who have put their own lives at risk and oftentimes sacrificed it for our nation and for us. Father, help us express sincere gratitude and help those stories and those lives be templates for our future so we understand that as part of this great nation, service and sacrifice are critical ingredients. We lift up to you all of the active duty military and guardsmen around the world who are deployed, those who are here at home, their families, their children, their parents, their siblings. We ask you to protect them, to keep them, to shine your face upon them. And in my faith, I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you all. God bless Virginia. And may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. As General Brito mentioned in his comments, the pride that we feel in conjunction with Veterans Day surely extends to our military families, who are very familiar with the meaning of service and sacrifice, and it's an unpredictable, taxing, and often very difficult life. And it produces some of the toughest moms in our community, and dads too. There can be no doubt that the strength and might of the U.S. military is due in large part to the strength and resilience of our military family members. And if you grant me 60 seconds to tell a memory that kind of sums this up for me. It was 1982 in Germany. I was very young. In the middle of the night, we got a call that my grandfather had passed away here in Richmond, and my mother was quickly preparing to head back to the States to be with her family. My father was out training. This is a Cold War. He didn't come back home for things like that. And so I'm standing there in my pajamas at about 2 or 3 in the morning, very young, very worried about what was going on. And Mrs. Marty Shiflett came hustling down the road from a few doors down, and she stood with me and my brother there in the entryway to our small quarters there in Germany. And my mom kind of hustled out the door back to the States, and Marty looked at me and my brother and she said, "Hey, y'all gonna be staying with me for a while." She was from Alabama. And she put her arms around us and she said, "We're gonna have fun." And in that moment, I felt safe. I felt taken care of. And I also knew that that was a community that I'm always going to want to be a part of. And it's the Blue Star community, and it is fabulous. I know we have a number of Blue Star families with us and watching today. And I want you to know that we greatly appreciate your service and sacrifice, and we're proud of you. And in the spirit of keeping our military families in the forefront of our minds throughout the year and honoring them here at the War Memorial, last year, we began a program to recognize one military family from Virginia each year as our annual Inspire Military Family of the Year. And we're joined today by the Jaeger family of Richmond. Senior Chief Petty Officer retired Harry Jaeger, an atomic veteran, enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 1955 and served 35 years. His daughter Maria commissioned in the Navy and served 22 years. His son, Harry Alfred, served 25 years in the Navy. Harry's son-in-law, Johann Herzog, enlisted in the Navy and retired as a Master Sergeant. In 2012, Harry's granddaughter, Cassie, commissioned in, you guessed it, the U.S. Navy. And Harry's grandson-in-law, Kyle, is currently a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. 3 generations, over 100 years of combined service to the U.S. Navy from the Jaeger family. So I'm very honored and excited to introduce the Jaeger family as the Virginia War Memorial's Inspire Military Family of the Year for 2020. Please, Jaeger family, please rise for it. Thank you. Their photos taken will be displayed here at the War Memorial throughout the year. I'm also very proud to introduce our annual Veterans Day Essay Contest winners. Education is central to our mission here at the Virginia War Memorial, and we love seeing what students from Virginia's schools can produce. The theme for the essay contest this year was to write about a Vietnam veteran who inspires them. And we received hundreds of submissions from around the state. We have our two winners here to read their essays. Here to share his essay is our middle school winner, Mason Bibby, an 8th grader from North Cross School in Roanoke. Mason, come on up. All right.
Good morning. I'd like to start off to say thank you to Virginia War Memorial for having me here. Thank you. My name is Mason Bibby. I currently reside in Blue Ridge, although I'm a native of Roanoke. I attend North Cross School, where I have grown fond of all things geographical and historical. I chose Dr. Philip Eugene Ayres as a person who inspires me. Ayres is a United States Marine, just as my grandmother and maternal grandfather are. Although neither of them saw active combat, they both showed me what it means to serve and take pride in our country. I became enamored with Ayres because of his unmatched resolve, selfless attitude, and his genuine faith in God. Ayres is a native of Salem, Virginia, and was an attendee of Andrew Lewis High School. Ayres demonstrated exceptional courage and patriotism with his service during the Battle of Hickory in May of 1967. In his book, Marine, he details his harrowing experience as a soldier in Vietnam. For example, in an exercise near what was known as Highway 1 in the Vietnamese countryside, Ayres, at the time a corporal, and his squad of soldiers found themselves lost in the area near Highway 1. Worst of all, the radio was out, so there was no hope for rescue. Instead of waiting to be attacked by the Viet Cong, Ayres ordered a grueling 6-mile forced march to base camp. Even then, Ayres was not exclusively known for brute determination. While serving in Vietnam, he repeatedly steeled himself to deal with issues of morality. Ayres found a reason to fight not just for his country, but for the citizens of another as well. On page 137 of his memoir, he remarks, "Freedom became a big issue for me personally. They deserve to be free. I always rebelled against the thought of anyone trying to take my freedom away." The fact that he would fight for someone else's freedom, readily knowing the ramifications of the situation, warrants far more than a medal or accolades. He went above and beyond the call of duty to protect the freedom of others. Ayres truly embodies the camaraderie between human beings. He never hated the Vietnamese citizens, or the Vietnamese soldiers for that matter. He simply considered himself on one side of a conflict. In the words of the literary great Mark Twain, "All war must be just the killing of strangers against whom you feel no personal animosity. Strangers whom, in other circumstances, you would help if you found them in trouble, and who would help you if you needed it." In other words, had he not been fighting in the conflict, Ayres would have supported the Vietnamese populace in their search for safety and security. Lastly, Ayres' journey of faith is encouraging. My paternal grandfather, who is a retired naval serviceman, and father are both pastors, and have such taught me to rely on my Christian faith. Similarly, Ayres has served as senior pastor of Grade Creek Baptist Church for nearly 40 years. He's a living, breathing example that no matter how far away you stray, and no matter what you've done, you always have a friend in God. That was never more true than when he first came home from the war. His post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, scared his family and ruined his marriage. Debbie, Ayres' oldest daughter, kept praying for him. She knew that God would prepare in his life and that he would heal her father. One Sunday, Debbie convinced Ayres to visit church. During the service, memories of God and scriptures came flooding back to him. Months later, he chose to reaffirm Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. His life was back on track, and he received treatment for his PTSD. He was no longer suffering. Dr. Philip Eugene Ayres truly inspires me because of his determination, courage to fight for his country and the freedoms of others, and his commitment to his faith. Thank you.
All right. Great job. Great job. All right. Great job. Well done, Mason. Mason informed us before the ceremony he is considering serving in the military, would like to do so very much. He's got those family ties to the Marine Corps, although there's some effort to recruit him into the Air Force out here going on over there. However, we're going to stick these two on him right after the ceremony, and we'll line him up for the Army. All right. He's from Bedford, the Bedford boys, sir. Come on, there you go. Perfect match. All right. Our high school essay winner is Katie Wittenbreaker, a sophomore at Monacan High School here in Chesterfield. So, Katie, come on up and share your essay.
Hi.
You can lean in a little bit to the mic.
One Halloween afternoon in the 1960s, a little girl was running around outside and stepped on a nail. She was eager to go trick-or-treating and didn't want her parents to discover her hurt foot. Knowing he'd give in, she went to her oldest brother for help. Out of the kindness of his heart, as well as not wanting their parents to find out, he took her to the emergency room to get a tetanus shot and allowed her to trick-or-treat afterward. The little girl from that frightening night was my Aunt Robin, and her brother is my Uncle Gilbert. In 1966, Everett Gilbert Tyree graduated from James Blair High School in Williamsburg, Virginia, and enlisted in the Army to go to the Vietnam War on January 8, 1968. He served from 1968 until 1971. He survived the war unscathed, but unfortunately passed away in the truck accident just 14 years later. Gilbert was only 37 years old when he passed, and even though I've never met him, he's been able to inspire me in countless ways. His sense of duty to his country and family, his diligence for any task given to him, and his resilience throughout and after the war are only of the few of the many reasons why Gilbert Tyree influences me always to be the best version of myself. During high school, Gilbert Tyree was an exceptional basketball player. He was responsible for leading his school's A-list basketball team to the state finals and was able to play for college. After graduating high school, he instead chose to enlist in the ongoing war. Gilbert believed it was his duty to his country to fight in the war, even though the majority of the country was against it. Gilbert scored high on the mechanical engineer component and was put into the 15th Transportation Corps Battalion under the 1st Cavalry Division as a helicopter mechanic. Gilbert's duty and love for his family kept him motivated throughout the war. In his downtime, he wrote letters and sent rolls of film to his parents and siblings. His letters always contained an equal amount of humorous and heart-touching moments, which would make his family laugh and smile. On July 28, 1969, he wrote, "I imagine Robin is still reading as many books as she can find, and Margaret Ann is trying to follow. It must be nice to have two girls that are as close as they are, because Robin can help with schoolwork. I guess they're really growing up." In that same letter, he also mentioned that he wasn't going to shave his mustache off until he returned to the United States in 87 days. He and his family would joke about him having a mustache, but he kept his word and made it a small, silly duty to keep it until he returned home. His examples of duty for every moment in life have inspired me to always do what I believe is right, even when it seems silly. Whenever there was an upcoming rescue mission, Gilbert Tyree would always agree to go, even if it wasn't asked of him. During rescue missions, he would bring wounded back and strip disabled helicopters so the parts wouldn't help the enemy. His constant diligence in his work benefited him as he was promoted to section sergeant for a month until the regular sergeant returned. He was a hard worker and never complained. This plays into his resilience and his untiring flexibility. In a letter, he described that he got soaking wet on Green Line Guard from the rain, but that he'd feel lost without it. He quickly adapted to the rainfall of Vietnam up until the point that it became his second home. When he did officially return home on January 11, 1971, his family welcomed him with open arms. The rest of the country, however, treated the Vietnam veterans harshly due to their opposition to the war. He overcame their hate by focusing on being back with his family until his sudden death on October 22, 1985. As a result, his duty to all, his continuous diligence, and his resilience in any situation were only a small part of what makes him inspirational. Gilbert showed great duty by voluntarily enlisting in the Vietnam War. His diligence served him well as he was temporarily promoted. His resilience kept him going before, during, and after the war. Gilbert Tyree's sacrifices for our country have left a lasting impact on me and many others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Katie. Good job. All right, so it is Veterans Day. That means that it's service medley time. All right, this is that time, if you haven't seen this before, this is the time where the 29th Division Band is going to play the various service songs of the different branches of the military. And for those veterans in attendance, when you hear your service song, and let's hope that you know it. If you don't know it, that's your problem. You failed. But when you hear your service song, please stand and be recognized. And those watching at home, I challenge you, wherever you are watching, stand when you hear your service song. Make sure you're in a safe spot to do it, but go ahead and stand. And with that, we're going to hear the service medley.
Daniel Gade, and I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Veteran Services.
I'm Angela Porter, Dr. Angela Porter, and I am the new Director of Suicide Prevention and Opioid Addiction Services for VVFS, the Virginia Veteran Family and Support Service.
So my name is Patrice Jones. I'm the Director of Education Programs, and I have the pleasure of leading the state-approving agency, the Military Education and Workforce Initiative, and the Virginia Military Education and Survivors Dependents Education Program. So that's a mouthful, but those are the programs I get to lead.
I'm Phil Trezza, and I'm the Director of the Virginia Values Veterans Program. Everything having to do with transitioning service members and military families and employment falls under the Virginia Values Veterans, or what we call the V3 program.
You know, the governor's sole focus with respect to veterans is to make Virginia the best place for veterans to live, work, and raise a family. And we're doing that in a couple of ways. One of the ways we're doing it is we have really reinvigorated our veteran hiring program called Virginia Values Veterans, V3. But what it does is provides technical assistance in hiring veterans, there's some tax breaks associated with it, and then other kinds of training associated with how do you understand veterans, how do you find them, and how do you hire them? That's from the company perspective. From the individual veteran perspective, that V3 network of companies, about 2,500 now, that V3 network of companies is really interesting because now you've got a targeted set of companies that you can apply for that have already committed to hiring veterans. And so the main thing in order to help veterans thrive is help veterans be employed in a way that they can have income and dignity and a place in the community. And that's sort of number one. All the other things that we do really support that economic growth and hiring agenda that the governor has set forth.
So we have the Hire Vets Now SkillBridge program. It is an amazing opportunity for transitioning service members that are within 180 days of their transition from military life to civilian life. It is a DOD approved program. And so what that means is that service members who are transitioning, they have the opportunity to work with V3 employers and still get their military pay while getting experience in the civilian workforce.
With the V3 program, we have two groups of staff members. One group of staff members works with the transitioning service member and their family, and then the other group works directly with the employers. So we train and we certify employers on how to hire and train and retain veteran talent and military spouse talent. We have over 2,000 V3 certified companies within our, umbrella.
So for our V3 certified companies, one of the benefits is that they get to try out the skill set of the service member. Not only do they get to try out that skill set, but they get to see if it's a fit, right? If the service member is a fit. In an age where budget is such a big thing, they're not required to pay the service members because they're still getting their pay, their DOD pay, right? And so it's a great opportunity for employers to manage their budgets in a smart way, but still be able to serve our veterans, onboarding them because veterans are the best talent. So they get high quality talent, but then they also get to see the skill set of the service member. One of the things that we offer through our military education and workforce initiative is really, we work with colleges and universities to create pathways for our veterans and for our spouses and for dependents into employment, because we do want to keep them here in Virginia. We know that veterans are the best talent, and we understand the need to service the entire family. If the veteran is happy but the spouse is not, that does us no good in Virginia. We want thriving families, and so our services are in place to serve the entire veteran and their entire families.
The rate of suicide with veterans was 31.7 per 100,000 in 2020. So that rate is actually 57% higher than the rate of non-veteran suicides. Of course, a lot of that is related to opioid addiction and substance use. A lot of that is related to the trauma and a lot of mental health issues related to different aspects of their past and their current situations. Luckily for the Commonwealth of Virginia, the service members, veterans, and their families, as well as citizens of Virginia, we have been given a grant to create basically an entire unit under VVFS to address this problem in the Commonwealth.
I think it was Ronald Reagan that said that the best welfare program is a job. And the best way that we can help veterans, the best way we can help veterans thrive is make sure that we have an economy that is built and sustained by all those veterans who are coming out of military service. So we think we have about 20,000 veterans leaving, or military people leaving military service in Virginia each year. And our goal is to keep all of those people in Virginia, and the best way to do that is to have a robust, growing economy that supports veteran entrepreneurs and veteran employees. And so as we take those veterans out of military service and we place them into jobs, we're making their families better, we're making their lives better, and we're making all of Virginia better because of the rich and vibrant contribution that they make.
To all the men and women who have served our great country, thank you for your service. This has been the Commonwealth's Veterans Day Ceremony from the Virginia War Memorial.